Welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And we're just an adorable couple in love that loves doing some reaction videos together.
It's true.
A crap guide to Dungeons and Dragons by Jocat.
Nice.
So we're gonna check out the different classes for Dungeons and Dragons. I played Dungeons and Dragons a long time ago as a kid. My brother was a dungeon master, and so I didn't play it a lot. It's just, every now and then my brother would rope me into it, and I enjoyed playing it. But I'm by no means. I need this guide. That's what I need.
And Dungeons and Dragons is a life experience I've never had. Yeah,
and so we've been checking out Vox Machina on our other channel, and so excited for season 2. So maybe this will help, us getting that as well. So.
Awesome.
It's too cold outside. What shadowy hints of my easy-to-miss social life is dying, and I also want to argue about how pop culture characters fit into alignment charts. So it's time to make like a bunch of famous voice actors in Dungeons and Dragons. Odds are plenty of you dork bags have heard of the hobby, but have as little understanding about how it works as anyone over 60 has about being content with living as a single childless adult who doesn't care about where they live so long as it's a roof over their head and the neighbors don't shout out racial slurs. Unless it's at half-elves, the filthy, knife-eared mongrel mutts. So print out some character sheets, go shopping for some loaded dice, pack some expired snacks, call up all those friends you can only tolerate, and put on your favorite wizarding hat. It's time to do some motherfucking role-playing. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Do you like hitting things? What am I saying? Of course you do. Everybody does. I most certainly do. All the time. Like now. And hitting things is the best thing about D&D. You can hit literally anything you want. Better yet, you can hit it with a big fuck-off axe while flying into a bloodthirsty rage so potent you could be forgiven for mistaking it for some kind of super rabies. The barbarian is the best class for hitting everything and everyone hard enough they explode into a huge puff of confetti or a shower of blood and organs. What's the difference? They're pretty much the same thing. You get a D12 for your hit die, one of the only times you'll ever use a D12. But it does mean you'll be soaking up hits better than my pillow soaks up tears after I take a look in the mirror for a few seconds. You start with just about every important combat proficiency and any weapon of your choice. And if you're taking recommendations, I highly suggest going for the dual-wield chainsaw shotgun laser earrings with detachable missile launchers and drink dispensers. Ooh, and they have built-in cup holders. Look at that. No tool proficiencies, but who cares? Nobody uses tools anyway. You pick them to add to your character for backstory purposes and then forget they exist because you only ever roll for skill checks anyway, you lazy, thoughtless gobblebright. Yes, I just made that up, and it's what you are, you stinky feigl bitch. In fact, who even needs armor? Your pure, unadulterated chutzpah will block enemy blows better than even the shiniest of chainmail bikinis. You have spider sense, which assists in you avoiding traps, spells, obligatory social events, and laundry. And of course, the signature trait of the barbar is being able to enter a ferocious frenzy of force that foes will fear for all their fannies. During your rage, you may be easier to hit, but at the game that you are better at hitting everything else. And not just that, your muscles grow to the size of crag-faced garmoofies.
That's a made-up word.
I don't care that the things I'm using for analogies aren't real. Intelligence is a dump stat anyway. That's why mine is the number that comes after 3. And now you know how to play barbarian. You're welcome. Real spellcasters, whack. Close quarters combatants, whack. Immobile tanks, whack. Me, I'm tight as fuck. First time playing D&D, I realized I'm too cool for any sort of specialized role. But that was only because I hadn't figured out that there's only one way to play it right. With a sword in one hand and a harp in the other, shouting my greatness from the rooftops, laying bitches and slaying witches. Or is it laying witches and slaying bitches? I can't quite remember. I was too busy giving the tavern owner a reason to stay in business. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D.
A bard.
The jack of all trades, master of none is still better than someone who only has one gimmick and has to hide for the rest of the fight because they've run out of class features and spell slots. If the sword and shield were an RPG class, it would be the bard, one that's good at doing everything and doing everyone. You can cast spells, learn tons of skills, support allies, harm enemies, harm allies, support enemies, woo crowds, boo crowds, and most importantly, lay dragons. It's the most versatile class, and its various archetypes allow you to fill literally any role, so who even needs anything else? Need DPS? College of Swords. Need a tank? College of Valor. Want to make rogues useless? College of Whispers. Need to get good at the game? College of Sit Down, Shut Up, and Listen. Your most important feature, Bardic Inspiration, is like the little girl Wolverine version of the Big Daddy Logan, and is absolutely game-breaking. By being a radiant concentration of pure awesomeness, you can allow anyone else an additional die to roll and add to almost anything. Think that weak-ass wizard won't be able to make the con save against that poison attack? Inspire! The fighter needs to land the killing blow on an enemy with a high armor class? Inspire! Your wingman just told you about a hot piece of sliz that walked into a high-class tavern and that he needs you to hype him up to be able to talk his way in and maybe nab a few extras on the way out for you? You best bet your ass that homie's gonna be inspired! In fact, you can do it yourself. Jack of all trades and expertise means whatever you're bad at, you're suddenly good at. And whatever you're good at, you're suddenly unbelievably amazing at. Nothing can stop you, well, maybe except a pretty face. By playing D&D, you automatically sign an unwritten contract that forces you to write your character to fall under the purest stereotype of whatever class you pick. Everybody knows you have to follow that contract or else Matt Mercer will sneak into your house and throw foam noodles at you from the corner of your living room. All all wizards are smartass eggheads, all rogues are kleptomaniacs, and all bards are lust-compelled sex deviants. It's just the rules, I don't make them. And of course, the main gimmick of the bard is that it's artistically expressive in some way. People usually think this means musician. That's because their brain are like this, while my brain are like this. They can sing, dance, paint, prance, make a pretty dirt drawing with a lance. Plenty of ways to further enhance the battlefield if given the right chance. Now you know how to play bard, you're welcome. Now this may sound rather odd, but sometimes the best in the squad is the one with the cross who can smite like a boss by harnessing the bitch slap of God. With a mace that even ogres will flee, you'll cast and crush things with glee. Some think they're not strong and those people are wrong. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D.
It's Mr. Face, the little blonde one.
Yeah, Pike.
Yeah, right, there it is.
The support is someone everyone wants on their team, but nobody wants to be. Lucky for you, the cleric is like a support that decided to buy a taser after being too fed up with being told to heal the barbarian who ran into a 1v20 encounter. Clerics are the religious fandoms in the D&D world that are so crazy into their deities that they've turned their fangirling power into something that can actually pack a punch. Having the same armor proficiencies as a fighter and the self-sustaining capabilities of a paladin that's been juicing with unicorn hooves and dragonborn acid. They have so many teeth-grindingly infuriating spells at their disposal on top of all that dungeon masters all over the world universally agree to ban clerics from the game so as to not make encounters absolute nightmares to give proper challenge without throwing approximately 20 black dragons at one cleric alone to keep it balanced. Spells like Flash Gordon, Buddy Cop Weapon, and Does My Hand Smell Bad to You are so stupidly strong at such a low level it's easy to forget why so many uncultured swine consider the cleric a designated healer. Anyone who does has either never played the class or considered the sword and shield a viable weapon in Monster Hunter. Wait, unlike most other classes, you pick your archetype at first level, and you have oodles, canoodles, and toaster strudels to choose from. To summarize, you have heel bitch, nerd, sunburn, and my axe, nobody dies, nobody cares, and a couple of more that I'm too lazy to mention. Seriously, with how versatile and independently strong you can build a cleric, you can make up an entire party full of purely priests, call it the Amen, and bust down Tiamat's door demanding her lunch money. And she would just build her own toilet to give herself swirlies so she wouldn't have to endure the kind of bullying you're about to give her. Channel Divinity gives you special limited use effects depending on your domain, and can be as dumb as Turn Undead, where the power of the gods can make a zombie run away from you like it's regained its ability to smell and realizes you've been sleeping with your Jesus blanket that you haven't washed in months. Or as useful as Guiding Strike, where you can choose to add 10 billion points to your attack roll so you'll be able to swat one fly with another fly's deuce being whipped around on a string like a yo-yo strung around your pinky toe while blindfolded. The only downside is that you get a pitiful amount of uses, like a gym 2 weeks after New Year's. And finally, the most notable trait of the cleric is Divine Intervention, where if you are a good boy or girl all year praying happy thoughts and burning that dank holy kush, if you wish upon a star, the clouds in the heavens will part and the literal gods will stop playing their game of Jenga to fix whatever dumb problems you and your party have gotten into, and then avoid you for 7 days debating whether or not to write you a holy restraining order after seeing you pissed your pants fangirling over your religious senpai noticing you. And now you know how to play cleric, amen. I don't understand tree huggers. What has the environment ever done for us? It's not like it provides oxygen, resources for tools, housing, clothes, food, and technology or anything important like that, and it's definitely not like it's home to various species of plants and animals required to keep the ecosystem alive to continue to feed mankind's insatiable appetite to destroy, consume, and rebuild in his own image, ultimately resulting in the annihilation of the very world that brought him into existence. Nah, fuck all that. The environment clearly exists for us to skin innocent animals that are minding their own business so we can wear them as high fashion. I mean, just look at bears. All they do is steal my chips and shit in my backyard. Well, guess what, Yogi? It's payback time. And what better way to give it than undercover as one of their own? They'll never see it coming. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. The druid is what happens when a ranger decides to fully commit to being a furry/hippie instead of just half-assing it because they're only trying to impress that sexy dryad they met in the forest that one time. They're primarily a casting class, but unlike clerics with their holy senpai, warlocks with their sugar daddies, bards with their awesomeness, or sorcerers with their rich magical parents' inheritance, druid's magic comes from Mother Nature, and from first-hand experience I can tell you now she's an absolute bitch. Shut up, bitch. At second level, you can fulfill every furry's dream and transform into an animal, but not just any old lameo neon-colored oversaturated mess like Arjun Darksnout the rainbow dog with an indie band t-shirt over there. No, I mean cool animals like my original character, Grabblejean, the nocturnal giant toad. Don't steal! Your archetype will be based around whether you want to be part of the forces of nature or if you want it to work for you. To list them off, land for different flavors of spells, moon for when you want to take your persona to the next level, dreams for if you secretly want to play a cleric, shepherd for if you want to be king of the wigglers, spores for if you want to reenact The Last of Us, and twilight for that sweet edge. Just like all the classes, your features improve with your level. Where druids differ is that their animal-related features mean that the beasts you summon or wear fursuits of don't necessarily get stronger, but rather they're thrown into the garbage and replaced by things with increasingly more fleas. Moreover, they gain additional features a regular animal couldn't imagine if it was high on devilweed, which gets fucking terrifying at later levels. Imagine this scenario. You're walking in the woods, there's no one around, and your phone is dead. Suddenly, spiky thorns sprout out around you, making movement painful. An adorable bunny rabbit sitting in front of you, seemingly harmless, suddenly starts shooting giant bees out of its eyeballs and turning the tree branches around you into black mambas. Design an encounter for that, Dungeon Master. And now you know how to play druid. You're welcome. Fighter-Man, Fighter-Man. Overall, he's fairly bland. Hit some stuff, hit some more. Outside combat is quite a bore. Look out, he is a Fighter-Man.
Nice. I approve.
Gee, I wonder what it does. It's a goddamn mystery. Who knows? I'll say it because nobody else will. If you pick fighter, odds are you're also likely to pick human because you're basic like that. And that's not just me saying that, it's science. Human fighters pop out of the woodwork like rabbits on Viagra because people are incapable of choosing something unique even when they're given options like playing as a kobold paladin who prays to asteroids just before they crush an unfortunate man's cabbage cart. Just look at me, for example, artistic phenomenon and originator of the satirical talk fast genre of videos. What do you mean I'm not the first one to come up with the idea? I don't need these lies coming out of you. Everything I make is completely original and everybody knows it. Come on, Master Chief, let's get the fuck out of here. Fighters are the purest essence of the combat side of D&D, all about hitting things hard and fast, getting into the thick of the fight, and hey, you get out of here, we're not talking about you. They're all focused around rolling more dice than a Limp Bizkit song, as well as being straight up easy baby mode because you get to start using any weapon you want, heavy armor, some ranged options, a free cheesecake, and a complimentary belly rub just for picking the class.
Aww.
Seriously, everything about it is geared towards being so noob-friendly, even a Monster Hunter longsword player will be laughing at you. If you feel so inclined during combat, you can heal yourself, attack twice, and take a second action to attack twice again, all in the same turn. And that's at 5th level. Not to mention you getting more ability score increases than any other class means that if you go a turn without hitting at least something, then you must have made some kind of D&D sin that angered Gary Gygax, like getting weighted dice or putting milk in before your cereal. Fighter flavors allow you to pick how you want to be hitting the bad guys, like being a magic bitch that can actually take a hit, or ride a bitch while you cut down a fool, or go all out sensei mode and just decide you want advantage for every attack this turn, so you're going to absolutely destroy a bitch. But odds are, knowing most fighters out there, champion is the best bet because it's basic. Yo, we heard you like fighter, so we put more fighter in your fighter. Just be sure to make your character a rough and grizzle-faced middle-aged straight white man with a two-handed sword and a mysterious and/or tragic and/or vengeful backstory just to fit the bill. Don't want to get too creative now, do we? And now you know how to play fighter, you're welcome.
That one you wanted to go by through as fast as possible.
Why? Because, bitch, you were taking too long. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D.
Monk. Okay.
Fighting is like a science and can be used for either side of the moral spectrum. It can be used for evil, like punctuating arguments, expressing a salty loss, and beating up nerds, or it can be used for good, like self-defense, artistic expression, and beating up nerds. And monks are those who have trained heavily in the nerd beating up science of mixed martial arts, foregoing any sort of traditional filthy weapon proficiencies and instead opting for wanting to punch, bam, boom, slam, kick, punch stuff. You start with no armor because, like a barbarian, you have the ability to deflect and dodge attacks with the power of your unconstrained birthday suit. But unlike barbarian, you don't have to rely on the pathetic material world to explodify goblins. You have your knuckles. Martial arts training means you can serve up extra punchables for the bad guys as a bonus action, so no matter how you're doing, as Mama said, you'll be dishing out more pain-induced fistings than two lesbians who consider watching porn as a reasonable substitute for sex ed. But it's not all coochie destruction. The monk is a slippery piece of work who's really good at avoiding any oncoming fistings, like a millennial trying to get their life together avoids self-care, by catching them if they're a fist projectile or dodging out of the way if it's an area of fists. As you grow stronger, you can translate a fist if it's punching in a different language, and avoid any infections if the fister forgot to take a shower that night. As a monk, your shtick is the key feature, but since I can't come up with any way to make this section much funnier, and also because key translates to poop in Thai, that's how I'm going to refer to it from now on. You gain more and more poop as you level up, and you can spend your poopy points on various skills to do all sorts of things, like stun people, reroll saves, mask yourself and turn invisible, and any other number of crazy things based on which anime you want to imitate. I would recommend Kensei so you could use the dual-wield chainsaw shotgun laser earrings if it weren't for the fact that every other archetype was just cooler in every way, wearing fancy outfits and taking the time to actually learn how to fist properly. Oh man, what a tough decision. Do I want to use a pokey stick or do I want to fire Hadoukens and Kamehameha blasts? What an enticing decision. I'm really gonna have to think about. Don't stop, we're in luck now! And now you know how to play monk, you're welcome. Boy, I love the smell of justice in the morning. There's nothing more satisfying than knowing the good name of Sword and Shield has traveled so far and wide that not even the Pokemon games are free from their incredible, awesome influence. And it's about time too. You think I created this series to entertain and inform ignorant whelps of great hobbies their miserable lives are missing out on? Fuck no, it was to enforce the mighty name of the one true weapon pairing that triumphs all others. And if anyone were to step out of line, I'd bring down the wrath of which tear-ass children tell their parents to scare them before bedtime, and then collect the aftermath of the pants they all shit because it makes for great fertilizer. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Do Do you want to tank? Do you want to fight? Do you want a class that'll instill fright, take up some plate, and keep the goblins in sight? Because you want to make sure they eat this paladin smite! The paladin is the first on a short list of hybrid-style classes, stealing a mix of features from both the fighter and the cleric, meaning it's better at physically painting the walls with blood than a cleric, but more gooder at grammar and spelling than a fighter. But it's also one of the few classes where role-playing becomes somewhat important. What? Role-playing in my role-playing game? They really should have put some kind of warning label somewhere. I'm not submitting to this shit. If I wanted to follow some sort of code, I'd become a pirate so that I could at least plunder some booty while I'm at it. Otherwise, fuck you gods. If you want me to play your game of ethics, you can kiss my shiny plate mail. Alright, fine, just follow the code and don't do anything stupid that'll cause you to lose your paladin privileges, like a spoiled rich kid who's upset that he doesn't get a 4th Maserati to crash. Like the other all-up-in-your-grill-style physical fighting classes, you gain proficiency with every goddamn combat-oriented item in the universe. And yes, that does technically mean that you can optimally play a paladin without a shield and not have to worry about being a less effective contribution to your party, but if you do that, I'm telling you now that you're wrong and I hate you and you're a big, smelly doo-doo head. As a resident big fuck-off bringer of divine justice, your job is to harness the power of holiness or whatever other wacky power, depending on what oath you pick, to have everything else die while they bounce off of your full frontal crusade like a turd in the wind. That's true for just about every combat-focused class, but the paladin is especially good at it, what with having the aforementioned fighter-cleric combo skill set. You get multiple attacks, channel divinity, a free vaccination, casting abilities, more auras than that one silly anime that nobody likes, which means you'll be so jacked that your mere presence will muscleify any nearby allies so that they look like a typical character from said silly anime that nobody likes. And lay on hands, a pool of health you can use to heal yourself or give a single hit point to your ally because that's all they deserve for not letting the rogue check the obviously booby-trapped room first. But we all know the real reason anyone picks paladin, and that's to never cast any actual spells, but instead use your spell slots to imbue your weapon with various flavors of smite. Because what good is striking down the heretics and heathens of the realm if it's not in the elemental attacking equivalent of your god sports team colors? You can smite with fire, laser pointers, brain freezes, sick basic drops, and cheese! Cheese for everyone! Sorry, I meant force. Force is what it says. There's a Stargate, and now you know how to play. Wait a minute, what the hell is that noise? Just play a fighter with a bow, it's way better. Alright, fine, I'll talk about the class. Ranger is the other of the bisexual style of classes, where it likes fighter, but it also likes druid, and flips between the two depending on which one looks cuter at the moment. Hell, it even steals a few things from rogue because it's so indecisive. And despite the name Ranger, you're not actually restricted to use any sort of ranged weapon in order to be effective. As far as combat goes, you get the usual fighter but not really fighter set of features. Fighting style, all weapons, extra attack, spell casting, D10 hit die, hey Macarena. From rogues, it steals the ability to channel your inner chameleon and blend into the environment. Except instead of hiding in the shadows and watching where you step, it's more like putting on makeup, so you need to take some time, have a good look in the mirror, maybe look up some tutorials while you're at it, then start over when you realize you were using the wrong shade of foundation. From druid, it steals some of that being one with nature flavor it's got going on, and a whole lot of spells, but not without a few exclusive spells of its own, like having a target explode a bunch of thorns when hit with a ranged attack, plant arrows in the ground and turn them into proximity-based fireworks, except the gunpowder is magic and the lights are bits of enemy brains, and single-handedly the objectively best ranger spell, Swift Quiver. Not for the unlimited ammo, that's dumb, nobody keeps track of their arrows anyway, but because it turns your ranged weapon into a rapid-fire machine gun. But Joseph, you said you don't need to use a ranged weapon to be effective as a ranger. Those all sound like ranged weapon exclusive spells. That may be true, however.
Shut up.
Anyway, when it comes to actual unique ranger features, you can use the power of racism to decide what kind of creatures you're going to perform extra potent hate crimes on. And preferred terrain, where you can pick your favorite environment, and after trotting around picking flowers or litter, depending on what it is, you can become a fantasy Bear Grylls, which is basically real-life Bear Grylls, except with a kobold crew filming you instead. And if you worry that that sounds too situational, and that if you picked a forest terrain and the entire campaign took place in the snowy mountains would mean the feature would be more useless than a football player who got tapped on the shoulder and started clutching their knees crying in the fetal position, don't worry, you're right, and it is. What isn't situational is just about everything else involving the environment. You can sense what kids are trespassing on your lawn and then not have to worry about the weeds that might otherwise slow you down from catching them and giving them a good weapon! When it comes to flavors of the no really trust us, you can totally use melee and still be a useful class. You have Pokemon Trainer with a gun, like rogues but even dodgier, literally a monster hunter, thinking with portals, and pew 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 pew! Alright, let's address the beholder in the room. The vanilla incarnation of the Ranger has a reputation of being less useful when compared to the other classes due to questionable abilities and how they function. That's not to say the class can't be useful or powerful in the right circumstances, but some consider the Ranger's situational and sometimes underpowered features to leave something to be desired. However, there's nothing wrong about talking to your DM about changing how certain skills work, if that happens to be the case, so that you can have more fun at your role-playing table. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's not about how many numbers you can do to the bad guys, but whether or not you can shoot spikes out of the ground while firing bolts from your heavy crossbow atop a feathered velociraptor. And now you know how to play Ranger. You're welcome.
Okay, so
Ever since I was a child, I had to grow up on the
Beastmaster Ranger.
streets, wrestling alley bears for food and fighting guards for my own freedom. It was in those streets that I knew I couldn't trust anyone but myself. The only thing for sure was that I had to find the monsters who put me there to exact my revenge and finally put my restless hunger for blood at ease.
So is that why you're standing in the corner of a tavern conspicuously?
That's something deeply mysterious and intriguing for you to find out, but I doubt you'd understand all the pain and suffering I've had to endure to...
All right then, I'll see you later.
Wait, no, you were supposed to be deeply interested and ask me more about my backstory. You know what? I'm tired of being another cog in the machine of an adventuring party. I'm going off on my own, following my own creed and doing what needs to be done. That's right, I'm going rogue. Do you get it? Rogues are the sneaky, stabby, skilly, willy utility monkeys of the Forgotten Realms, and the best pick if you're a backseat gamer since it lets you interrupt someone trying their best because they weren't doing it right. However, if you want to Mary Sue it up even more than you already are, you also get expertise so that you can upgrade those proficiencies to anime protagonist levels of ridiculous. Now I know what you're thinking, this sounds a lot like Bard, and while that's partly true, the difference is rogues aren't automatically assumed to be the comic relief.
Instead, they're deep, dark, and brooding, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, holidays
Excluded because who could be grumpy on Christmas? The other main difference is their unique combat feature, the sneak attack, and because the names in D&D are always inaccurate, you don't actually have to be low to the ground and covered in shit to deal the sneak attack bonus damage, but rather anytime the enemy's just not feeling up to it today and just wants to get it over with. This means if the enemy's being flanked, or if they're laying prone on the ground, or they just bragged about how high their IQ is, you know, things that would make them really easy to stab. You are incidentally not very easy to stab since you have a whopping 4 goddamn features dedicated to make you more difficult to pin down than figuring out if that teasing banter you had with your friend actually hurt their feelings or not. You can dodge when it's your turn, dodge when it's not your turn, dodge a giant ball of fire, and even dodge having to pay the bill on a first date. One especially unique trait of the rogue is their exclusive language thieves can't. Thieves can't what? I don't have the slightest clue, because it allows you to say a whole bunch of jargon that somehow translates into a completely different sentence. Timmy's having tea with the local blacksmith actually means let's go to the temple and steal some of the cleric's donations. Speaking of stealing, the thief archetype means you're especially fast at doing thiefy things like picking locks, chugging potions, and hardcore parkour. Assassin makes your stats extra stabby, and you can stab while disguising yourself as a child you saw who you can point to later and say they did it. Arcane Trickster basically turns you into a bard except less talented or attractive and allows you to hocus pocus somebody's wallet from 3 miles away. Mastermind is straight up Sherlock Holmes, complete with the assholery and catchy theme music. Swashbuckler won't stop bugging people to 1v1 them, and Scout, which is yet another better alternative to Ranger. Your job is to make sure everybody knows how much better you are at doing everything, because when the going gets tough, you know the party's going to turn to you one day and ask you to please pick the lock on the door to the king's castle because the bard accidentally kicked the guard in the genitals trying to seduce them, and you'll gladly show them all the skills you've learned from
growing up in such a harsh and unforgiving environment once you're home, forcing you to learn questionable means and morally ambivalent beliefs in order to survive.
Just try not to cut yourself on that edge while you're at it, and now you know how to play rogue. You're welcome. Magic is dumb and stupid and makes no sense, and my brain hurts the more I try to figure out how it works. Except when bards use it, because bards are cool and mages are lame with their colorful flowy robes and giant obnoxiously fashionable hats. No, I'm not jealous, shut up. At the very least though, most of them work hard for their magical abilities, some of them cultivating it through skill and experience, others answering to a higher power, some having a codependent relationship with the arcane, and some lucky enough to have their parents bang a mystical creature and receive a small genetic loan of 1,000,000 mana. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Get your stupid hats ready, it's time for the casters, where your weapons suck, your armors suck, and your martial skills are closer to that of the average D&D player. Instead, you'll be relying on the mystical, magnificent mass of magics, except in this case, not really relying on and more like bullying it into doing what you want. Sorcerers are those who disrespect the rules of magic and can easily manipulate it like it's some young adult who's desperate for food that isn't microwaved or takeout. Maybe that's why your hit die is the one used for Monopoly games. That's right, a pathetic D6, which likely means the DM won't have to do much to make you piss your pants in fear. The Cirque du Soleil's metamagic feature means you can enhance the spells you cast by paying off the essence of arcane with the inheritance money you got from your magical parents, and allows you to influence your spells to take on a variety of effects to your liking. Its effects include, but are not limited to, biased AoEs, angry AoEs, spells that gotta go fast, say, "Nah, I totally got you, I hit your shirt, clothing counts," get an extended spell warranty, double penetration, or even cast with the sound of your armpit farts if you don't feel like talking that day. And you can do all that and more by using your sorcery points, which has got to be the 2 most absolutely nerdiest words you could ever put together in a single phrase. It's also a weirdly effective safe word because it allows your magical BDSM to stop so your spell slots can catch their breath and recover. With archetypes, you have squishy clerics, zippy zappy, casty blasty, watch for the lightning, it gets nasty, darkness, 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 scaly and denial, and the only one that really matters, the Wheel of Wild Magic! Where you and whatever other lucky souls nearby get to experience the high-octane thrills of randomness. Think your pathetic magic missile just won't cut it? Don't worry, with the right kind of luck, it could suddenly open up a one-way portal to the fire planes. Who knows what crazy, helpful, and/or harmful effects could happen due to your gambling addiction? Let's spin that wheel and see how wild we can get. I may have spun it a little bit too hard because of my stonkingly huge muscles, so we'll just let that go for a while. Now, the main difference between the three arcane casters is how they get their magic. While wizards take years studying for the ACT and warlocks keep having to pay interest to their demon lord shareholders, sorcerers' magic comes from the fact that they were born inherently talented instead of needing to do any actual work. That's why your casting ability is charisma, because we totally need more of those, and just because you can cast spells doesn't necessarily mean you're smart. But who cares what's smart when you can cast big spells with big effects so your big numbers can turn the big baddies into big piles of giblety experience points. Insert fireball joke. And now you know how to play sorcerer, you're welcome.
Turn into a potted plant.
Shit. Hey, you sitting there with your saggy butt cheeks and emotionless expression. I know what you're thinking. Boy, I wish I could cast spells, but all I got is an expendable firstborn child and a willingness to work under a questionably immoral arcane master till the end of time. Well, that's just the exact sort of motivation we like for our employees at EDB Incorporated. And if you sign up with us, we'll be sure you're treated in a way that you deserve for assisting in furthering our goals to bring about the ruin of the entire multiverse. All I need you to do is sign here and agree to give us But on the bright side, we have dental. Welcome to A Crap Guide to D&D. So you want to use magic, but only as much as you want to hug that one family member you keep seeing at reunions, but aren't quite sure how you're related. Then you may want to be a warlock, the fake gamers of the Forgotten Realms. How warlocks differ from the other casters is that the amount of times you can cast your spells before running out of spell slots is absolute shit. Instead of having a set number of spells for each level of spell slot, you get a maximum of 4 spell slots for all your spells up to 5th level, and that's it. And a few other ones, but nobody cares about those. The flip side is that the spells you cast are always at their max level, and instead of having to take a long rest to get those slots back, all you need is an hour to have a wank, have a biscuit, and you're back on your feet. But you know what? Fuck real spells. You may think you're a caster, but really picking this class is purely an excuse to do nothing but cast everyone's favorite cantrip, Eldritch. Cast it at weddings, funerals, beach parties. Or you can just cast it randomly because the party's taking 5 hours to buy a single dagger from the shopkeeper and you're bored. Aside from casting nothing but Eldritch all day, the main draw of the Warlock is the fact that it's the greatest game of dress-up dolls of all time. Eldritch invocations allow you to custom tailor your Warlock so that it suits you better than my form-fit Kieran assless chaps. You can talk to animals without needing to cast a spell, go straight up invisible whenever you want, but most importantly, there are invocations that allow you to customize your Eldritch so that whenever you shoot your gobbledygook at whatever poor sap that looked at you funny, you can pull them forward and do your best Scorpion impression, snipe them from 2 blocks away, or make the beam of arcane destruction smell like strawberries if you like. But it's not all fun in Eldritch because remember, you've signed a pact with a patron, so your power is being loaned to you from an all-powerful arcane sugar daddy. So you will have to pay interest if you want to make sure all that magic stays nicely tucked into your Eldritch sack. Luckily, they're not like bank loans because you can actually pay them off and they're not always inherently evil. You have the choice of being bossed around by a literal devil who decided to make you their favorite person, so they're gonna be your mommy for a little bit. A skeleton who ironically refuses to let you die because you still owe him 2 platinum. Fairies who are just straight up assholes. God, so you're basically a cleric now. Literally Cthulhu. But forget all those because the only real option is to have your patron be a magically possessed sentient sword and shield that yells fuck when you swing it. Basically, you have such a huge amount of options to choose from with how you build your warlock, it's very unlikely any 2 warlocks will the same. So get your shopping baskets, light some candles, have fun customizing, and remember you have to sacrifice 3 more babies by the end of the week or you're fired! And now you know how to play warlock. You're
impressive, you know? I mean, I've never had a student score 0 in everything before.
What do you mean? I chose exactly the perfect spell for every situation.
Well, you answered fireball for every question.
What's your point, person within fireball distance?
What I mean is you can't expect a big damaging area of effect spell to be the answer for everything. Maybe try some different spells, maybe minor illusion to trick the enemy. You can find a fae or a fiend to serve as your familiar, or even prestidigitation. It has a surprising amount of uses, even though it costs nothing.
I'm about to prestidigitate all over your desk if you keep suggesting lame-o spells.
What I'm saying is you should expand your horizons. A wizard is the apex of the arcane, the ultimate utility caster, and one of these days you're gonna find yourself in an encounter where fireball isn't gonna... Where'd you go? What the fuck?
Welcome to A Crap Guide to D&D! The classic, the OG, the frail old man with a stick that shoots magic missiles at a few goblins and then has to go door to door telling his neighbors he's a registered hex offender. The wizard is the most powerful class if you ignore any other classes that are stronger, which are all of them, because this thing is more fragile than a single layered sheet of toilet paper that's been soaking in the soggy crack of the bridge troll's ass cheeks. This class is the sorcerer's lamer, more studious, dorky neighbor who does all the hard work for none of the recognition. You get saving throws and intelligence and wisdom instead of constitution and charisma, so sure you'll be able to ace that pop quiz and not have to worry about being distracted, but you won't be able to hold your liquor or score any hot dates at Chad Firebolt's party in the Golden Mansion his chromatic dragon dad bought him. If you're looking for the silver lining, the wizard is definitely the heaviest case of be careful who you call ugly in magic school. The wizard's spell list is thicker than the Storm King's thunder thighs, who gains spell slots like a shower drain gets hair, and during a short rest you can even choose a small amount of spell slots to recover depending on your level. Best of all, at higher levels you even get the ability to cast your favorite low-level spells as many times as you like. But who are we kidding? You're likely going to be dead before you reach that high, either killed by your own fireballs or killed by all your pissed off allies who were caught in your own fireballs. But hold your horses there, Mr. I actually believe wizard memes are as funny in the game as they are on social media. All your spells are tied to your spellbook because wizards have short-term memory loss, and unless it's a cantrip, you can only cast a spell if you have a 3-step tutorial with pictures to color. But the work doesn't just stop there. The stronger spells at higher levels are going to need expensive magical components to cast them if you don't want to embarrass yourself with arcanal dysfunction and suddenly your finger of death feels more like a finger of mild discomfort. People say wizards are the utility casters because of the massive amount of spells at their disposal, many of which are apparently great for a wide range of situations. I'm here to smartly inform you that those people are stupid. Use fireball and only fireball. Nothing but fireball. Just fireball. Just fireball. Just fireball. Because they are the nerds of D&D, wizards have an unhealthy amount of knowledge of all of the different schools of magic, so instead of having their archetypes based around a certain theme, they get one for each of the aforementioned schools of magic, which is too damn many to go over, and frankly, I don't have the time or gummy bears to last a whole lecture. Instead, I'm going to quickly summarize each school of magic, and also war magic, cause fuck you, and I'm gonna do it all in song! Evocation elements to burn or shock or freeze or flames. Necromancy spares the dying, or you could just resurrect them. Abjuration keeps you safe and almost makes your armor fair. Divination helps you sense, detect, commune, and talk to fairs. Conjuration, portals and make stuff for free. Transmutation, turn things into other things. With enchantment, buff the buff or in between. And delusion, visual tricks to prank the brain with fear and silence. Blur and go invisible, pretend you're someone else's dad. Disguise, mislead, take on their life. War magic is like tank mage, getting lots of defense, blessing as you cast. And now you know how to play wizard, you're welcome.
Bravo.
A wise man once said magic is dumb and
That was
stupid and
great.
makes no sense, and I trust that man. He wields a sword and a shield, so why use magic when you can use big brain energy and the power of science? And I know how much nerds love science, so much that they won't shut up about it and one day start making weird advances towards their Texas Instrument. Listen, we all have our urges, but seriously, get a server room. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D.
It's Bane. Oh.
It's about damn time we got another intelligence caster. The stat is about as commonly used for spellcasting as your bedroom is used for sexy times. The artificer is an inventor who decided traditional magical means by accomplished wizards and scholars are too mainstream and decided to come up with their own magic spells and items after reading 2 articles by angry moms from Baldur's Gate who discovered casting real spells can actually give you genital flumps. Checkmate, sorcerers. Instead of that, you can tinker with items to imbue them with special properties like turning it into a flashlight, turning it into a scented candle, or turning it into a phone that can only record and play vines. The best part is that once you give the item the properties, it lasts forever, so go have fun enjoying your 7 seconds of fame before the service shuts down and you become a struggling vlogger. And speaking of messing with the natural properties of items, as you level up you gain infusions, which allow you to turn that sex toy you hide in the dresser from a basic vibrator to a vibrator. Infusions include, but are not limited to, boring stat increase, Thor's hammer, item dupe glitch, and go gadget blinka-boots! This is all due to your massive IQ rating of 20 billion, which is so high you can add your intelligence modifier to any of you or your ally party members' dice rolls and become the ultimate backseat gamer telling them about the bad guy's weak spots because there's no way their simple minds could have figured it out on their own. And if that doesn't work out, you can use one of the 50 magical items you've made yourself and refuse to part with like someone on an episode of Hoarders, or pull a fast one and throw the magical vibrator that you secretly stored a charge of fireball in. Being the new class that it is, the Artificer only has 3 subclasses so far, and no, I'm not going to cover the new ones that come out. Stop asking, I just want to go on vacation with my sword and shield already. The Alchemist is like a drunk doctor and gains a few healing spells, can buff allies with the power of drinking and gambling, and can help you grow closer bonds with your pets. If you want a big fuck-off gun, the Artillerist can create an Eldritch Cannon that can either fire 3 different kinds of artillery, or just sit there contributing nothing while you marvel at your amazing craftsmanship, because keeping track of more than one thing on the board is hard, isn't that right, Dungeon Master? And lastly, the Battlesmith, where you decide to stop being a puss baby and join the fight with a mystery-solving robo-dog sidekick. Ranger. Overall, the Artificer loves making, finding, and using loads and loads of magical items, which means you'll probably forget about half of your inventions because players can't be trusted to even remember the items they started with at the beginning of the campaign. So just make sure to keep them under good security so the rogue doesn't steal them all while you're long rest and suddenly you wake up to the sound of Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture. Now you know how to play Artificer. You're welcome.
Human fighter.
What's wrong, you pathetic, sad, procrastinating dungeon master? Can't come up with a worthwhile and interesting combat encounter and you only have half an hour before the session because you spent the last week fascinating about a totally different campaign you wish to run one day but ultimately know you never will because you're in a constant state of prep work and insecurity? That's okay, everybody knows no matter how basic the combat is, it's going to take forever anyway thanks to any spellcasters and people on their phones, and is mostly just a chance for the DM to stall for time while they figure out the next story beats. That and an excuse to show off whatever art of the thing the players are fighting that the DM paid $3,000 in commissions or miniatures to make for them, or you could just grab whatever the nearest thing on your shelf is and say, fuck it, we're fighting this little bastard. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Goblins are one of the most iconic creatures in Dungeons & Dragons, famous for being low and mid-level cannon fodder, having the respawn rate of a seahorse playing Call of Duty, and being overall superior to kobolds in every way. Goblins are what you default to when you have no idea what the party should be fighting because they're just so splattered all over the realm that everyone just accepts that they can show up anywhere.
Alright, got myself some milk and cookies for some hunts, and I'll open the fridge and put the milk back where it went, and close the fridge and go get my milk.
God, Jesus, what the fuck?
Goblins were originally created by the hobgoblins, who one day got really lazy and decided to make a generation of poor saps that they could shove all their baggage onto and then blame for when the economy they don't have a say in gets destroyed. This has sort of evolved into how goblins mostly live in tribes where the biggest asshole is the leader and everybody else is just sort of used to being treated as poorly as a retail worker. That's not to say all goblins are meek little green muppets. Given enough size and numbers and time to prepare an ambush, and even the most basic goblin squads can turn an 8th level party into the aftermath of eating at White Castle. This is because goblins are a culture constantly raiding like they're trying to get world first and have a knack for throwing themselves at the first thing they see that looks like they could potentially bite its ear off. They're also somewhat smart. Leaders of goblin tribes consistently placing first in tournaments of Connect 4, and the race as a whole frequently mounting and fighting alongside creatures such as wargs, which are oversized wolves that are perpetually angry as people keep stealing their art off Instagram. If you ever decide to play as a goblin, you'll receive a little bit of dex and con from being agile and resilient little gremlins, and the ability to quickly pussy out of combat like you're at a friend's house and the parents started arguing. And Fury of the Small, where you get to punch below the belt and make the enemy's voice go up as many octaves as your player level. Now that's the general idea of what goblins are supposed to be in the Forgotten Realms, but this is D&D, which means everybody breaks the rules more than an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the fact that goblins are so adaptable to so many situations and environments means that there's no limit to how they can be portrayed or what they can be used for. You can make them mindless monsters that fill the last few empty rooms of a dungeon, or adorable little scamps that the party will adopt the instant they see them, or design them so unexpectedly attractive that it'll make people question if they discovered a new fetish or if it was there all along and this was just its awakening. You too can throw an endless supply of XP at your party while giving them conflicting feelings on stomping on an innocent little cutie pie that was just minding its own business and just wanted a little bit of love. Isn't that right, you sweetie petite? Ow, son of a bitch. And now you know how to use goblins. Booyah!
Didn't you already make a crap guide to Barbarian?
Well, yes, but actually no, that one's garbage. It's shit. It's poopy doopy and in need of some update and polish like a live service game 2 minutes after release. I've gained a whopping 1 additional point in my intelligence since then, and I'm now superior in every way. Smarter, stronger, more wiggly than ever before. And this is the only one I'm doing, so don't hold your breath for the others. They're perfect forever. So let's start from the top. D&D is for dorks, what with all the complex words and math. It's packed to the brim with a bunch of mechanics and systems, and nobody has the time to read because they're too busy not playing D&D. But no worries, you third-string athlete who occasionally looks at their old high school pictures and then reflects in the mirror wondering what happened. Lucky for you, I have a class that'll need as much brain power as varsity had to use on their midterms. And all you gotta do is learn how to throw a tiny plastic icosahedron just like how you threw every single game coach put you into. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Everybody likes to hit things, and D&D is the best because you can literally hit anything you want, including the other players, and what better class to hit everything than the Barbarian, who's the best at hitting things and never stopping hitting things. Having a D12 hit die means you have around a googolplex of hit points by level 2, and unarmored defense means the chunkier you are, the better you can block and avoid attacks because the enemy is too distracted at how your fat hairy tits are flailing about. Better yet, you have Spider Sense, which allows you to avoid traps, spells, social events, and laundry like you've just moved out of your parents' house and are trying to get your life together. But enough about defense. The real reason to play Barbarian is to hit it very hard, going into a bloodthirsty You can channel your anger into the might of 1,000 dads who just felt the thermostat get adjusted, and during your rage you become the world's greatest goblin juicer. You gain bonus damage, advantage on strength checks, and any and all physical attacks will bounce off of your day 1 patched pecs. As you gain levels, you get progressively angrier and angrier, getting a straight up flat increase to your movement speed, an extra heavy swing when you land a crit, and become too angry to die potentially forever as long as you keep hitting things. As far as flavors of goes, there's the Berserker if you want to swing your weapon like it's taped to a ceiling fan, mistaken stupidity for bravery, and have an unlimited supply of Uno reverse cards. Alternatively, the Totem Warrior is like a gateway furry, where you channel your favorite Robin Hood crush and pretend everybody is Prince John. Battle Ranger to become a really pissed porcupine. Storm Herald if you want to make the environment around you as pissed as you are. Zealot if you want to be a diet paladin with a smite and aura that's made with 0 sugar. And Ancestral Guardian if you're a scared little bitch. Offense is the only offense, and I will have none of these tactics in my combat encounters. What, you thought I biggered my brain so I could think harder and waste time when all that planning fails because of a bad roll, and then I have to sit around being useless for the rest of the session? What do you take me for, some kind of wizard? Well, do you, huh? Fuck you, I'll beat the shit out of you. You think you're better than me just because you can count? I hope you like being pavement lotion because you're gonna be filling all the cracks in my driveway. And now you know how to play Barbarian, you're welcome.
So we checked out all the videos from Jocat for the different classes. He had more stuff going on, but that was kind of like, you know, it's kind of like a Maxor video with how quick he went with how fast he talks and everything like that. Just not like with all the quick, crazy like edits that Maxor does. But yeah, what'd you think?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I have no background in Dungeons and Dragons, so I think my most comparable shoe into the world has been Vox Machina. So it was fun to kind of like try and figure out who the characters from Vox Machina are in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, so I can kind of like have just something to root it in a reason for being invested in caring. As far as the video itself goes, I feel like I need to watch it like another 2 or 3 times, at least one more so I can pause as I go, because there were like little bits written on there in different points that like,
for sure,
flashed so fast. I had no hope in hell of reading them. And I can tell that this person is very knowledgeable about what they're talking about. They have a fun sense of humor. They're very playful with their video.
Yeah.
So I feel like I missed out on some of those things just because of the speed. But I also loved the speed as a part of the style. So I wouldn't change the video. I just think I need to watch it again.
I think you summed it up very well. I don't really have much to add to it. It was fun trying to go and figure out which character was which in Vox Machina. Percy was the one I had a tough time figuring out. Was it the artificer, or the was he just like a fighter, human fighter?
I think he's an artificer.
Yeah,
artificer. He like created his gun.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he tinkers.
He's a tinkerer, right?
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Okay, that's what I would think as well. If you were to pick a class in Dungeons and Dragons and you wanted to play, was there any class that stood out to you? Be like, that's the class that I want to play as.
Sorcerer.
Sorcerer? Okay.
Yeah. I think sorcerer. I mean, it's either the sorcerer or no, I think it really is just sorcerer.
Sorcerer? Okay.
Yeah.
I think cleric.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I want to try to play as. So, you know, I think I got to check to see if my brother still has games going on Saturday nights. He invited me a while ago to play with him, but we'll see. Maybe we'll make a guest appearance in that.
Hey, maybe.
Thanks for recommending this video for Crap Guide to JoJo's Crap Guide to Dungeons and Dragons, and more suggestions for stuff to check out for D&D. Let us know. Looking forward to the movie that's coming out too.
Yeah,
for Dungeons and
definitely.
Dragons. We checked out that trailer and that looks fun. Thanks so much for checking out our reaction for Jocats Crap Guide to Dungeons and Dragons. But just keep in mind
that our reaction is definitely not definitive.